Hello, this is Alexi George, and I wanted to share some thoughts with you that I've been writing on my blog, yourbarnabas.com. And I thought I'd take an opportunity to just talk about some of these things and to share those same thoughts with you, maybe in a conversational format. This idea is the idea or the thought about calling and commissioning. It seems like the call to follow Jesus comes along with a commission to proclaim the kingdom of God to those in our community. It also looks quite obvious that Jesus simply turned people away when they were more interested in caring for their own needs. He wanted those who would be committed to the proclamation of the kingdom. Now, this is kind of tough because as I've been concentrating on the Gospels a lot for some time now, I'm beginning to see some of the uniqueness in Jesus' approach. And he seems to be less concerned about people's personal issues, although I don't think he's putting that aside. But for sure, he's giving a heavy focus on the commissioning to proclaim the kingdom, to share the gospel with others. So I don't want to get into a kind of a legalistic type of a framework where if you're truly a believer, you'll share the gospel. It's not. I don't want to get into that kind of an approach either. And I want to be careful about that, and I don't want to put unnecessary burden on people either. So what does it mean? Well, when Jesus said, "Leave the dead to bury their own dead, but for you go and proclaim the kingdom of God," he said that in Luke chapter 9. And when he says that, it seems that this concept is clearly evident there. The same concept is also implied in the statement, "No one who puts his hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of God." So the plow clearly indicates an expectation to be a worker, to proclaim the kingdom or to proclaim the good news of the kingdom. So it seems that Jesus is connecting both of these concepts together very closely. So the young man says, "Let me go and bury my father first." And now, does it mean that you should not take care of your responsibilities? Well, of course not. We are to take care of our responsibilities. But what does this mean? Well, of course, Jesus was using a hyperbole. It was definitely a kind of, he was stressing the point. He was making his point by using that hyperbole, by saying, "Let the dead bury their dead." Doesn't mean, you go and proclaim the kingdom, forget about your father who's dead, don't bother burying him, let somebody else bury him. Not at all like that. I remember when my father passed away, when both of my parents, when they passed away, we did what we needed to do. We got it done. It didn't matter what others thought or what others did or didn't do or anything like that. You just take it upon yourself, and this is your task. You got to do it. You get it done. So Jesus wasn't saying don't do that. It was a hyperbole to show that nothing should be more valuable to you than the kingdom of God. Proclaiming the kingdom specifically here. Now, what if I want to be just a disciple of Jesus and just kind of coast? I suppose I'll have the entry into the kingdom settled because of the finished work of Jesus on the cross. I suppose I'll make it a heaven by putting my faith and trust in Jesus. Okay? Now, there might be some who would argue and say, no, that's not enough. Okay, maybe. Let's see. I'll go on with my own tasks as I wish. This sounds like a nice plan to me. But for Jesus, this was not an option. And Jesus also specified that, he wasn't really trying hard to get people into his fold. He wasn't really trying hard to increase the number of disciples. He had a lot of disciples, by the way. He had not only the 12, the 70. There's a record of the 72. Some people think that it may be same group, and they got the numbers mixed up. I don't know what it is, but he definitely had people that followed him. But look at the multiple thousands who benefited from his ministry. They were healed. They were delivered. They were forgiven of their sins. Those who were outcasts in the society, Jesus kind of embraced them. So many benefits that they got from Jesus. But only a few followed. And Jesus understood that. And his ministry kind of connected, with people quite broadly. In what sense? In the sense that he benefited them. Just because it benefited them, did they make a commitment? Not at all. Not necessarily. What percentage? 50%? No. Maybe 10% or less had really made a commitment to follow Christ. So, what are we talking about here? We're talking about calling and commissioning. Okay? So, I see this idea even more in the parable of the talents. The master wasn't just concerned with the people using the talents entrusted to them. Oh, I'm glad you're using. No, it wasn't that. He wanted results. He wanted profits. He wanted profits that were real, tangible profits that he wanted. All right? Now, when we read the text in this way, it may be a bit troubling. And it's a cause for concern. I mean, it disturbs my comfortable life and challenges me to rethink my faith and calling. So it seems to be that whatever I do, in whatever I'm engaged in all the time, I should always be thinking about the kingdom and thinking about how I could proclaim the kingdom. Maybe your love for God needs to permeate every aspect of your life. It ought to be so valuable that nothing matters more, and so valuable that you've got to tell others about it. In fact, you got to be so captivated by his love that you can't keep it to yourself. This seems to be what Jesus expects of those who are called by him. Now, what about the people Jesus spoke to in Luke chapter 9? Yeah, take care of your social responsibilities. You got to do that. And the hyperbole that's mentioned there could be troubling, could be alarming. So be caring and faithful to your family. But Jesus has to be number one. Proclaiming his kingdom must supersede everything else. The called are also commissioned. And I don't know to what extent I need to be pushing that. I teach it. I share it constantly. I guess I'm not pushy about it. And I think people need to make their own decisions. I don't know. Maybe some others might say, well, you need to be more pushy about it. And I wonder what Jesus would tell me. I mean, because Jesus, he sounds pretty focused on that. He's like, hey, if you're going to follow me, otherwise, no problem. You don't need to follow me. You go on. But then he says, not everybody who says, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom. Well, that's a bit troubling. I mean, I'd like to think that everyone who says, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom because, making Jesus Lord of my life. But he clarifies that statement by saying that it has to be those who do his will, to those who obey him, those who do the will of the Father. Oh. And could it be that the calling and the commissioning, or the call and the commission, are so closely tied together that you need to share the gospel? You need to share the kingdom. And you need to share with others and to bless others. But those who benefit from the church, that's fine. Those who benefit from the kingdom, that's good. Let them benefit. Go ahead. Heal people, bless people, feed people, care for people, love them, provide for them, do all that you can for them. And they enjoy the benefits of that in this life. Will they make it to the kingdom? By the way, I am not the one who, keeps the list of who makes it to the kingdom and who doesn't, okay? That's not my task. It's not my job. That's in God's hand. But it seems a bit disturbing that Jesus was very focused on the proclamation of the kingdom. Hey, thanks for taking your time, spending this time with me. If you get a chance, take a look at my blog, yourbarnabas.com, and you can subscribe to this channel, and so you can get more videos like this. And if you'd like to back me up in what I'm doing, maybe you can become my patron using Patreon, and the details will be on the bottom of this video. The description box will have it there. All right, thank you.